Good afternoon, traders. It's Thursday, March 26th. We had a pretty interesting day in the trade room today. I was watching George, and about 10:30, he was drawing some rubber bands, and I was like, I don't know about that. And holy cow, did they friggin' respect his rubber band? I'm sure he'll show you here in a second, but it was pretty exciting. So, how you doing, George?
Good. That's all that you got to do, guys. If you're ever wondering, just pick up your chart, draw a line or a bubble on it, and the market will just react to it. That's it. That's the magic. Yeah, I wish, right? All right, let's start with. Oh yeah, before we get going, we have a guest with us in the room today. It's an old friend of mine, a trader. Also, he has his own trade room, so he's going to kind of hang out with us today. This is Keith. Say hi, Keith.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. How you doing?
So he'll interject, I'm sure, from time to time. We learned the same system, and we are kind of each other's wonderful sounding boards. So we like cross checking one another. So he thought he'd come over and see what we're doing here today. So we'll start here on the ES, and we'll start in the pre-market. I was up relatively early, and I was putting chart cast up at around 7:15 this morning. So around that time, I kind of figured out a decision point the market had basically gone through. And so if I just draw this thing straight across, so the conversation kind of went as follows. We said that decision point's pretty important. And so I drew the box associated with the decision point and all the three targets to the downside. And those, of course, you'll see them come into play a little bit later. But as we began the morning, so here's our 920 bar, I said somewhat of an aggressive attempt. If we don't get all the way back up here, we had a minor has to hold that came into play right here around 65.99. So market came up and obviously didn't respect that at all and just kind of blew right through it. So on the next candle, we had gone ahead and posted what was above that. So again, conversation was pretty minimal. It was that you can still take the decision point at the 66.10, or just be aware that there's a rubber band. And if you watch the videos, they're linked in the video or the section below. So you guys can go down there, click on the links in the description of this video. You can watch the videos and kind of understand how we trade the levels that we talk about here. So we had a rubber band up here right around 19. I said, that's perfectly fine. So long as they stay there, it really depends if they get back below the 66.10. So long story short, how long was this? 9:55 all the way, so almost an hour. Call it 50 minutes of just nothing. And it just went sideways. But again, if you just drew a line straight across where the rubber band was at, we never closed above it. So it really wasn't that big a deal. And after that, it was just bombs away. So on the path down, so as we're kind of making our way to the downside, the market's obviously going to always give little obstacles along the path. It's never a straight line. They had given a rubber band here at 65.88. As you can see, they spiked through it, but came back up. And then it was about it until we had another rubber band posted here, which it got to around 13:25 hours. Small push up, nothing significant. But this is what we were shooting for right here. So big picture has to hold. And if I just continue to draw my line all the way over, here we are. So finally we got to this. I think we had posted this yesterday. In fact, it was just kind of a bigger concept that the market was shooting for. And then that was it. And then we finally did get to the first target, almost to the tick, which is kind of amazing. Now, I did, just for reference, I left the trading room for several hours today. So I came back and posted this later in the day. It was somewhere after it had broken the has to hold. I posted these downside targets. So just for clarity's sake, we didn't have this called out in the room in the early session. We had the big picture has to hold, which again is plenty. If you took it even from there to there, it's a massive amount of points.
And before you go,
Yeah.
I want to give a little credit because you actually did call a decent trade that I took. It was like the 9:30, 9:35 bar. We were going down, and you said if it comes back up to, I think it was 93 or something like that, and it did, and I got like 15 points out of that little trade.
Mhm.
I mean, so that was another opportunity where you said, "Hey, this is aggressive," but so I was like, "Okay, well, I'm gonna start taking a couple more of the aggressives," and I did, and I got rewarded for it. So it's hard to see on the chart because
Yeah,
it's
we
so
did.
small, but yeah, that was a good call.
Yeah, it was a verbal call out. I'll zoom in for everybody just so you can kind of see it. But look, we had the minor has to hold. It was up here at 99, and we can see the spike that happened right at 9:20. So we're just opening the room. We're just starting to talk. You get this spike, and it just undershot the 99 by frankly too much. So you're right. I did call that out. I said, look, if you want to go for the slightly more aggressive, hit it at 93. And to your point, it did. Obviously 93 all the way back to 80, 79. So yeah, quite a good 13 points or so drop. So awesome. Appreciate that. All right. Anything on your end? Keith, what'd you see?
Well, that's fascinating. Yeah, good day, everybody. I did start the day even earlier because I'm over in Europe, so I actually got the first move down to 5:30 your time, and then
Yep.
it was exactly the same as it was exactly what I was saying in my room. The rubber band at the top, 5, 6 times it's hitting, and people are saying, "Oh, can we take it again? Can we take it?" I said, "Not normally, but yeah, you could for an hour exactly." And then the slide, I think it was tricky getting in on the slide. I've got bigger targets on, really much bigger targets down, starting at 65.19 is a new sequence, and it hit the first one of those after that huge rubber, the has to hold, as you said. It was just amazing. A lovely day of price action. Patience paid off.
Bob and I were chatting about this yesterday. As a matter of fact, I had told him, I was like, today's going to be a big moving day. And sure enough, there it was.
Yeah,
all right.
Good.
In Q, without getting too much into every single detail, it was a lot of the same. I'll zoom in here first to get our morning. So same thing, pre-market. This block here again is in representation to happening in the morning session. You can see here, we got to the second target of the pre-market and it tagged it twice, if not 3 times on the 5-minute candle, but it too kind of said, look, this is kind of, now this one was interesting. The NQ I liked a little more than the ES. I had said as much in the room. It was cleaner in the sense that it remained inside of our decision point. So you can see the decision point we'd laid out early in the pre-market. And when the rubber band came in there, it was kind of double confirmation that not only are we nearing the top of this giant block, which is that whole scenario, but it's also kind of the end. The rubber band usually will stipulate the potential end of a move as well. So, and again, you can watch the videos to get reference to that. But after that, and without getting into a lot of detail, it dropped, got to all the targets right about here, about 11 o'clock, and then spiked back up to our decision point. And that was it. Just blew through the big picture has to hold, re-tagged it a couple times, and then here are the targets. So if I were to draw a box associated with this guy, I would have basically taken this decision point. You can kind of see how big this move really, truly is. There you go. It's like way down here. So that's really where we're at the moment as we close out the market. You can tell we're in a very, very substantial move. So that's it. And then, yeah, we had this crazy 415 spike, which is funny. But they remain, and Keith and I have chatted about this many times in the past. They still remain fairly logical because look at our big picture has to hold. Like it didn't spike anywhere further than that. So while they sometimes seem bizarre and they seem like they're completely out of place, it's fascinating how often they remain within inside of the logic of what they set out to do to begin with.
That's totally true. We did a prep every day, don't we? We chat together and we bounce ideas off each other in the morning, and which is really good. Having an accountability partner or buddies is a good system. We can see what was happening today, and in the big scheme of things, as George is saying, although that is surprising and not you cannot call those candles, but exactly as George is saying, in the big scheme of things, it's exactly what they should have done. So it's just funny. It makes us laugh. They're just a bunch of monkeys, aren't they? And just tidy everything up there, and we see what they do tomorrow.
Yeah, like I wouldn't have like purposely set out to counter trend the second target necessarily with the anticipation it's going there. It's, I think what Keith is getting across too is that it just remains logical when you look back on it. You realize like, oh, they really didn't do anything crazy. They just went back, tagged a previously known and very important level, and here we are. We've now gotten back to first target yet again. So it's kind of funny.
Pretty amazing how it actually behaves sometimes, which is good. So I just want to remind everybody that George won't be in the room tomorrow, but if I know him, he'll be putting some things on ChartCast. So for those traders in the room that don't have ChartCast yet, I will actually bring my computer up and broadcast. It'll look very similar to George's screen. So never fear, you'll still have access to his levels and stuff. He's just going to be physically away from the computer during the market hours in the morning. So
yeah. And thanks for joining us, Keith. It's good to have you here, man.
Oh, thanks for the invite. It brings back lovely memories. That's really cool. It's nice to speak to you both.
You too. And as always, if you're not in the room yet, come play with us for a week. It doesn't cost you anything to do that. And you also get a 1-hour session with George where he will walk you through our stuff and interview you a little bit about your trading style. And it's one of the few places I know you can get a free hour of coaching. So please take advantage of that. The links are all down below, and our free course is down below as well. If some of these terms are kind of foreign to you, you'll know what a has to hold means after you go through the course. And the course is free too. So I'll see everybody tomorrow. George, I will see you on Monday, my friend.
Yep. You guys have a great weekend.
You too.
Thanks, see you later, everybody.